A very good morning, everyone. So, today let us discuss the poem Ode Intimations of Immortality from Recollections of Early Childhood by William Wordsworth. Now, what is an ode? Ode is generally written, to glorify a subject matter. That is what an ode is, a kind of a lyric. Ode is a kind of lyric, right? And intimations over here means hints, right? Immortality, we all know it is endlessness. From recollections of early childhood. Now, to understand the title better, we will first have to go through the poem, that what is Wordsworth trying to do or trying to say when he says intimations of immortality from recollections of early childhood. So before we go further, there is this small epigraph that is given here, that is from where the title of the poem has been inspired. And it says, this is from another poem by Wordsworth, that is, My Heart Leaps Up. And the line goes like, the child is the father of the man, and I could wish my days to be beyond each to each by natural piety. Now, we always say, you also must have heard earlier also, that child is the father of man. There is so much that a man has to learn from a child. When we ourselves, when we are children, then we are very pure, right? We are very connected to God. Rather, we are part of God, right? And we are one with the cosmos. And the kind of happiness that we have when we are a child, that is very pious, very holy. It is not it does not has the negative emotions like jealousy or hatred and all these things, right? But as we grow up, we are saddened. How we are saddened? We are saddened by the thoughts of getting a good job, studying, then making money. Then we have so many wishes and desires from life. And ultimately, what happens? We are disconnected, right? And as we learn, as a human learns and as a human grows up, a concept of reasoning sets in, right? Everything is associated by reasoning. We give a logic for everything, right? But as far as a child is concerned, a child's emotions and feelings are deeper. They are pure, right? So these particular lines have inspired the title of the poem, right? I hope you can understand that what I'm trying to say, how the child is the father of the man, because there are so many things which we need to learn from a child. Now, learning from the child doesn't mean that every child is teaching us something. It just means that even when you are grown up, let the child in you be alive. Don't let it die with your mundane life that that pulls you, that drags you into sadness and worries. That is what you have to keep in mind. Okay, so let us first get introduced to the poem. That was the epigraph that has been attached to the poem, and from where the subject matter is what comes from those lines, right? Now, this particular poem is often called as a ode or immortality ode, right? And it was written in two parts. Now, in 1804, he just wrote the first and the second stanza. In 1807, he wrote the next four stanzas, right? And in which book he wrote poems in two volumes. This is where he initially wrote some portion of the novel. But The complete version of the poem, it came in the year 1815, and complete version is this whole title. It came in the year 1815. Okay, I was just checking is my microphone on or not. Yes, so the complete version came in 1815. Then this particular poem is the high watermark of poetry in the 19th century, one of the greatest poems that has been written in the English literature, especially in the 19th century. This is one of the most popular and significant achievement of William Wordsworth. Then the poem has a didactic purpose. Didactic means it has a religious purpose, right? And it is often called as spiritual autobiography of the poet. Now, poet is feeling that something misses. Wordsworth feels that something goes missing as he has become a man. He's not able to enjoy the nature, enjoy the glory of the nature as he used to do in the past when he was a child. So why this connection has broken, that is what he has worked out in this particular poem, and that is why it is a spiritual autobiography, because he's talking about his own development from a child to a grown up and what he misses as a grown up. And the same, it is a philosophical poem where Wordsworth is trying to give us life lessons in connection to our nature as a man. When we grow into a man, how we become, what are the differences as far as childhood and adulthood is concerned, the differences between a man and a child, the differences between man and nature. So, these are some facts about the poem. Next, let us talk about the structure of the poem. The poem is divided into 11 stanzas that can be divided into three parts. So, the movement also, you can say how the stanzas, or the, let us say, the poem, how it goes about. So, the first four stanzas, stanza 1 to 4, they discuss the narrator's inability to see the divine glory of nature. Because you know what he says as the poem begins, that there was a time when he used to enjoy the grooves, the mountains, the earth, the stream, and everything. Every object of nature for him had a celestial light, God's light, and celestial. Okay, but now he finds, sorry, that light is missing in the sense he is failing to recognize that light. Missing का मतलब ये है, अब ये नहीं है कि light ही नहीं है, but he is failing to recognize that light, and this is his problem, and this has been introduced in the very first four stanzas, right? Then in the next four stanzas, there is a negative response that he says, why I am not able to connect to it, why I am failing to understand the glory of nature, why I am not able to enjoy it. There is something negative, is there is something which is making him sad, which is bringing in grief, which is failing him, that he is not able to not understand but connect to the beauties of nature, right? And another aspect is he feels that the child in him has gone missing. The child, when he was a child, he used to enjoy each and every pleasure of nature. He was having that boyish love for nature, but as he grew up, that love has somehow diminished. And he says that as the child is part of God because it comes from God, right? It is only that when the soul comes on this earth, it forgets its past. The soul is always living. एक कंसेप्ट आता है, प्लीज़ उसको आप ध्यान रखें. उसे हम कहते हैं transmigration of soul. राइट? कि दुनिया में आने से पहले जो सोल था ना, इट वॉज लिविंग, इट वॉज अ लिविंग एंटिटी, इट वॉज लिविंग इन हेवन, राइट? Over here in the book, I don't know what has been mentioned, I'm forgetting that, but child of joy, well, I'm not getting that word over here right now. As I'll explain you the poem, you'll get to know it. So he says, transmigration of the soul, that the soul was part of heaven, and then when it comes to the earth, right, when the child is born, it forgets its memory of the past life that it has spent in the heaven. Okay, remember this thing. This is what how Wordsworth is connecting his philosophical ideas as far as the concept of humanity is concerned, and the concept of continuity of life is concerned, and the concept of learning from the child is concerned. तीनों के तीनों concepts यहीं से set up होते हैं. Okay, so he forgets this life over here, and then he starts living a new life on earth, forgetting about the memories of the life that he has spent in heaven. Then what happens, as till the time he's a child, this is what I was telling you, till the time he is child, there is the prevalence of celestial light in him, there is the prevalence of God in him. But then the innocence that the child has, and the care that child gets, and the blessedness of the childhood, all these things are the things which Wordsworth find are missing. Okay, and this is where he is in these particular passages, is he is dealing with these problems. And in the last three stanzas, there is a response, there is a positive response to the problem. He is able to come to a conclusion as to what how he has to connect himself to God, how he has to remain connected to the nature, how he is not supposed to miss that connection that has been developed with nature. Okay, so this is how the structure of the poem has been divided. Now remember one thing, जब आप पोएम की क्रिटिकल अप्रिसिएशन भी कर रहे हैं ना, तो उसमें भी एक किस्म से एक्सप्लेनेशन ही आता है पैराग्राफ वाइज. So these two are interrelated. You will just be telling that it is divided into 3 parts, and thematically wise 5 parts, and this is how it moves on, what is discussed in which paragraph. Okay, from structure I move on to the form. Just remember this much, that it is a Pindaric ode having 11 stanzas. Next, very very significant to understand the poem is the themes of the poem. Now broadly speaking, the major themes are man versus nature, and childhood and adulthood. I have talked a lot about it already, but then there are certain other themes also, like there are the poem depicts the visionary experiences of childhood. और अब उन्हें क्या लगता है कि एज ही हैज़ ग्रोन, ये जो विजनरी एक्सपीरियंसेस ऑफ चाइल्डहुड है ना, ये फेड हो गए हैं व्हेन ही हैज़ बिकम अ यूथ. Then the poem also talks about, or the theme, there is another, is the pre-existence of human soul. That is what it talks about. And the central theme, the major theme, is the immortal nature. That is, from nature we have so many things to learn. Immortal nature of the human spirit also, that it should never die. अब आती है बात जो टाइटल की अगर हम करें, लेट मी टेक यू बैक टू द टाइटल. Intimations are hints, I already told you. Immortality is endlessness. So intimate करना क्या होता है? Intimate होता है copy करना. So what is Wordsworth trying to tell us? That you need to intimate, you need to learn, you need to copy the child, right? Only then your spirit will remain endless. Otherwise, being in the whirlpool of this world of making money and feeling sad and getting into relationships and again getting sad and not being able to get a job, so many things, so many mundane things of the life which may bring about sadness uh, to you. What you have to do is you have to learn from the child, right? In what happens generally, what happens is, the as the man grows up, he forgets his childhood, he forgets that behavior. So what he has to do, he has to keep a collection of he needs to recollect things from his childhood, his attitude from his early childhood, and only then he will have a indomitable spirit or immortal human spirit, where he will never feel that he is failing in his life. Okay, this is what the title of the poem means, and which comes out from the themes of the poem also. Okay, so it says the central theme is the immortal nature of human spirit, intuitively known by the child. So this is known by the child because he comes and grows with that, right? Partly forgotten by growing man. When human beings grow, they forget it. But to be known once more, to learn that thing once more, is maturity through intense experience of heart and mind. Okay, this is what the title is, and these are certain more themes that can be associated to the poem, and these two being the major themes, talking broadly. So now the points that we have to remember here about the poem are that Wordsworth wrote this ode to glorify the subject. He wanted he through this poem he gives a lesson to the people that we must learn from our childhood, right? How we should have an indomitable spirit, how we should not feel sad when we are failing. Then the concept of child and father. Child is the father of man, that I've already discussed with you. Then other things that relate to the poem is that objects of nature, they have celestial light. There is pre-existence of the soul. ये हमने theme में भी mention किया है. And child imitates, but he has intuition. Intuition क्या होती है? He knows things that are gonna happen. He has a feeling of things that are about to come. So यहाँ से आपका जो philosophical tone setup होती है poem की. Okay, so I think with this you must have got an idea as to what the poem is all about. Now I would elaborate a bit on these stanzas as to what they talk about. So, in the very first and the second stanza, Wordsworth says that as a child, the poet saw many objects of nature, right? And he felt that they are wearing clothes of heaven, they are clothed in heavenly splendor. But now that he has attained maturity, he regrets that the splendor has vanished. क्या मतलब है कि he is missing or he is failing to recognize the glory of nature. He is failing to recognize the dream-like freshness of nature, right? Objects of nature like rose, rainbow, moon, stars appear and pass away as before, but the celestial glory which they possessed has now departed from them. So I would like to stop this here. Let me take the text and discuss paragraph wise what is being what thoughts or ideas Wordsworth is trying to show us or teach us over here. Okay.